What's the most ultimate petty revenge you've seen or been a part of?
I used to work at a pizzeria. There was this one customer that everyone hated. She was rude as hell, complained about everything. Every single order she ever received, she found something to complain about. And she wasn't a normal customer. No, she would order essentially groceries from us by ordering disassembled sandwiches. For example, she'd order a chicken sandwich, but with all of the ingredients separate and in particular amounts, with cutlery, butter, a side of grated cheese, 3 plates, oil and vinegar on the side, medium rare toasted bread. Whatever the fuck that means, extra packets of ranch. You get the idea. But because it was all technically part of a sandwich, she didn't expect to be charged for any of the extras and would complain. She also refused to answer the door when delivery drivers got there, and instead would leave the money in an envelope, exact change, no tip, under the doormat, and wanted the driver to leave the food on her doorstep. She also had weird specifications about where the driver could park, never in her driveway, only on the street, even when it was raining, or she'd complain. Also, she didn't want them to announce their arrival in any way. No knocking, no ringing the bell, no beeping their car horns. They needed to be silent or she'd complain. Fucking nightmare, this woman. And every time she complained, she'd try to weasel some free shit out of us for next time. Because of fucking course she would. Anyway, one day, she says she needs the driver to make change, and she wants him to just leave the change in the envelope and not take a tip, because he gets paid already. So I tell my driver this, and he says, "Oh, I get paid, do I? No problem. I'll take care of it." He goes on the delivery and comes back pleased as punch. Doesn't say a word about how he took care of it. I get distracted, keep working. 10 minutes later, I get a phone call. It's the crazy lady, and she's furious because apparently my driver left her the correct change of $5.85 in the envelope like she asked. In pennies. Fucking genius. I had to put her on hold so I could laugh. I get back on the phone with her, and I said, "Ma'am, I think you'll find that pennies are legal tender. There's nothing I can do." After explaining that I am, indeed, the manager and the highest authority present, she got fed up and hung up on me. That driver is still a fucking king to me.
Once upon a time, I was a newly married lad. We purchased my grandparents' house from their estate as our first home. We didn't have kids yet, so we both had full-time jobs and hectic schedules. Incident, the first, one day, I came home from work to find my dog out on her run, going nuts. She rarely barked, so I paused for a second, trying to find out what's going on, and watched as a bright yellow sprinkler came flying over the fence. There was a bunch of stuff lying about my backyard, where the neighbor kid, let's call him Evil Son, had been throwing it at my poor dog. I walked next door, and banged on the neighbor's door. The boy's mother, let's call her bitch, came to the upstairs window, not even to the door, and yelled, "What are you doing on my property?" at me. By the way, this is my very first interaction with this woman. I introduced myself, and tried to explain what was going on. She immediately jumped to, "Do you have video of my son throwing stuff?" Then, inexplicably, bitch started blaming my wife and I. If we weren't such hermits, everyone wouldn't hate us so much. Odd, all of my other neighbors waved when we went by, but we didn't interact more than that. She was the only one I didn't know. Anyhow, she went on, and it turned out that she was upset that I didn't tell her that my grandmother had passed. Yeah. I hadn't told someone I didn't know about a family matter. Fine, whatever. I dropped the matter, and left. Incident, the second, shortly thereafter, I stopped working a regular 9 to 5, and started my own business, working out of my home. I noticed some mail went missing. One day, I see the mail truck go by, and put on shoes to go pick it up from the mailbox. When I get down there, I find the box empty, and bitch walking away from it with my shit in hand. I yell at her, and she drops it in a pile on her driveway. Proceeds to yell at me that it was blowing around her driveway, and that I should be more careful. Yeah, so I call the cops. They are reticent to do anything, since I didn't actually see her take the mail from my mailbox, but they still go over to talk to her. I can hear her yelling at them from inside my house. The next day, she runs out and stands in front of my car, trying to confront me as I am leaving. I tell her in no uncertain terms that I am okay with running her over. Incident the third, a neighbor's pet bunny went missing from its outdoor hutch. Another neighbor spots evil son down at the end of our cul-de-sac, looking suspicious. Bunny is found, strangled and mutilated, where evil son was seen. Cops are called, denials, the works. Incident the fourth, we were getting our house ready to sell. Part of that included stripping and repainting our attached deck. I come home from work, and find a can of paint has been opened, and thrown across the deck, some furniture, and the side of the house. There are a few child-sized footprints through the paint. Cops come, but don't give a fuck. Incident the fifth, evil son is expelled from his elementary school. He was found with a kill list containing most of his classmates. This was not long after Columbine and similar incidents, so folks were sensitive about stuff like that. Incident the sixth, bitch has an extinction burst, as they call it, blaming everyone for everything bad in her life. She puts flyers in everyone's mailboxes, talking about a conspiracy against her. Did you know that that's actually illegal, and punishable by fine? She does now. Incident the seventh, bitch takes a different neighbor to task, out in the street. Turns out, she doesn't have any friends, anymore. Other neighbors join the fracas, ganging up on her. Turns out her kid killing their rabbit, or her kid throwing rocks at their cars, and various other events, made her no friends. Incident the eighth, bitch gets kicked out of a city alderman meeting, where she tried to have the entire neighborhood condemned for various imagined slights. Results, so, after years of dealing with this woman's bullshit, we prepared to move to a new house. We threw one last blowout party, as one does. I get a little inebriated, and went on a rant about how little I was going to miss having that neighbor. A friend decided that payback was in order, so we went down into the cellar, and perused my grandfather's shelves of stuff he never threw away. Amongst it all was a bottle of Weed Killer. Great Depression era, block letters, Weed Killer. I have no idea what was in that stuff. Now, this is where the story gets a little hazy. My friend disappeared for about an hour, and then was back, as if nothing ever happened. I never saw the bottle leave the shelf. But, a few days later, parts of bitch's lawn started to turn brown and die. Big block letters spelled out, I am a bitch. I ran into bitch a week later, as I was getting my mail. Contractors were tearing up her lawn, laying down rolls of sod. She stomped over to me, and bitched about my other neighbor's kids. She clearly saw them apply lighter fluid to her lawn, and light it on fire to burn the awful message into it. Funny thing, whatever was done to her lawn, within a week sections of the new sod died, and the message reappeared, although blobby and illegible. And I still have that yellow sprinkler. Fuck that bitch.
I was dating this girl. Thought she was the one. So I gave her the keys to my apartment. I worked late for my job. I was just happy there was someone in my bed. When I got home at 2 in the morning, came home one night, and she was awake. She confessed to using my apartment to cheat on me with 7 different people. So I packed her stuff up. She was still living with her mom anyways. So I lied to her and said I moved to Seattle. I moved to Hawaii instead. 3 months after being in Hawaii, I get a phone call from her. I answer, and to my surprise, she's called me from the Seattle airport. She flew out there to try and fix things between us. The dialogue goes as follows. Me. So you're in Seattle? Her. Yeah. Weren't you listening? I came here to fix us. Mio, well that's bad. Her. What's bad? Me. I'm in Hawaii. Then hung up the phone. Phone rings, I answer. Her. You lied to me. Me. How does it feel? I hang up again. I don't know if that's petty, but to me was a good revenge.
My little brother and his girlfriend came to stay at my house for the weekend, and the girlfriend was super self-centered and obnoxious. When they left, she forgot her clothes and toiletries because she left them sprawled all over my bathroom. About a week later, she and my brother moved into an apartment together. After he paid for the moving truck, deposit, and utilities, she cheated on him with her ex and kicked him out of the apartment. This left him broke, homeless, and heartbroken. In the days after the breakup, she kept calling and emailing him several times per day, demanding that he ask me to ship her clothes and toiletries back to her. I mean, it's really important. It's my North Face. My brother called and pleaded with me to ship them to her so she would stop having a reason to contact him. Being the loving sister that I am, I gathered up the really important North Face sweatshirt, shorts, underwear, shampoo, conditioner, soap, and razor. I folded everything nicely. I then wrote a nice note apologizing for taking so long to mail them to her, and let her know that I hope all is well. The note was written in permanent marker, and the paper happened to be resting on the really important north face when I wrote it. Unfortunately, the ink bled straight through the paper and onto the shirt. Also unfortunately, the shampoo, soap and conditioner caps were not tightly secured on their bottles, and the contents leaked out all over the clothes, further spreading the ink. The most unfortunate result, though, was that her razor didn't have any sort of protective cap or container and left little slashes all over the front of the really important north face. She received the package, and my brother never heard from her again.
I lived in a cheap, crappy apartment with roommates, and we all worked in fast food. Money was tight. One roommate ended up unemployed for a few weeks, and then got a job as a bank teller, making much better money. However, while unemployed, she had missed a rent payment, which we had scraped together to cover for her. 2 weeks into the new job, she gets her first paycheck. Obviously, we are expecting immediate payback. Day one, she says something along the lines of she couldn't do personal business, cash or check during work, so she could pay us in a couple of days. The Friday she was supposed to pay us, she comes home with a big shopping bag and casually mentions she can't pay back rent yet because she had to buy new work clothes. When roommates and I got upset, she went total bitch on us that we didn't understand how to work a professional job because we were only food service and basically told us we would get our money when she felt like it. That weekend, she misplaced her name tag required at work. She spent hours searching for it. At some point, I came across the name tag in a random spot and said nothing. She kept searching for it all weekend and was panicked that she would look bad to her boss, etc. I never moved or took the name tag, but the whole time I knew where it was. She never found it and had to get a new one. She also never paid the back rent, and we kicked her out a few weeks later.
When I was a senior in high school, I was in a group English project with 2 other people. We had to read the assigned book, and over the course of a month or so we had several mini projects to do before the final presentation. These mini projects were designed so that each person would be covering a different section of the book, and they would all be combined for the finished product. The night before the first mini project was due, I learned that neither one of my group members planned on putting any more effort into the project than SparkNotes and bullshit. I ended up pulling several all-nighters trying to just get a passing grade. Fast forward to the day of our final presentation. We were going to be the last group to present, putting us after the lunch break in the middle of class. What I hadn't told anyone was that I was going to the blood drive that our school was having during lunch to donate. I go, donate, and spent a couple minutes making sure I'm not going to pass out afterwards. I come back to the classroom and find my group halfway through the prezi I had made for the presentation. Apparently they had been floundering, making shit up on the fly, and making it very clear to everyone that they had never read the book or had any idea what the fuck was going on. Teacher has her head in her hands. I walk back in, and my group says, well, thank God he's back. I restart the prezi, give the presentation and took my seat. Explain what happened to the teacher after class. Got a passing grade. 90% sure they failed.